Today, we're going to dive into one of history's most incredible spiritual partnerships. It's the story of a teacher and his student, a bond so powerful it would inspire people for generations.
I mean, really think about that question for a second. What does it take to become a saint at 14? For most of us, that idea sounds, well, pretty much impossible. But that's the question right at the heart of Dominic Savio's story, a kid whose faith was so on fire, it made him one of the youngest saints in history who wasn't a martyr.
So, you've got these two main players in our story. On one side, there's John Bosco. He's a priest, and he has this totally game-changing vision for how to educate kids. And on the other side, his student, Dominic Savio, who took his teacher's lessons and just ran with them, with a passion that was, wow, truly something else.
To really get the student, you gotta start with the teacher, right? So let's kick things off with John Bosco and the dream that basically mapped out his entire life's purpose.
Bosco's story was shaped by some really tough stuff and some incredible moments. His dad died when he was only 2, so his mom raised him with a really deep faith. Then when he was 9, he has this super vivid dream that tells him, your job is to educate the young. And this wasn't just some passing thought, it became his mission. The spark that lit the fire, it happened when he met a poor orphan on the streets of Turin and just knew he had to do something.
And this quote? It was the bedrock of everything for Bosco. See, for him, faith wasn't something you just did on Sunday for an hour. No way. It was supposed to be in everything, the very air you breathe. It should be part of your work, your school, even how you have fun.
And this wasn't just talk, you know? He put it into practice. His whole approach was about educating the entire person, body and soul. He taught his boys that faith is a 24/7 thing. You could find God on a loud, messy playground just as easily as in a silent church. The number one rule was simple but so powerful. Let love be the reason for everything you do.
Okay, so that's the teacher. Now let's meet the student, Dominic Savio. If John Bosco wrote the lesson plan, Dominic was the kid who didn't just ace the test, he became the living, breathing lesson itself.
Death, but not sin. Just let that sink in for a second. This was the personal motto Dominic Savio came up with right after his first communion. At an age when most of us are thinking about, candy and games, he had this razor-sharp moral compass. It tells you everything you need to know about how serious his conviction was.
And he didn't just say this stuff, he lived it every single day. I mean, picture this. It's recess. All the other kids are running around and playing, but where's Dominic? He'd often just quietly slip away to go pray. For him, that connection to his faith was the most real, most important thing in his world. Yeah, even more important than recess.
So you have this amazing teacher and this incredible student. What was the glue that held them together? What was their common ground? Well, it all boiled down to one thing, a deep, shared devotion to the Eucharist.
And to really get their bond, you have to understand this core belief, the real presence. For Bosco and Savio, the Eucharist wasn't just a nice symbol or a tradition. They believed it was the actual, true presence of Jesus Christ. This wasn't just some small part of their faith. It was the absolute center of their entire spiritual universe.
And boy, was this belief ever put to the test. Get this. John Bosco is celebrating Mass. There's a line of 360 boys, all waiting for communion. But when he looks in the ciborium, that's the container for the hosts, he sees only 8 left. Yeah, 360 kids, 8 hosts. You do the math. It's impossible. This is one of those moments where faith just smacks right up against cold, hard reality. What on earth was he going to do? What happened next is, well, it's just mind-blowing. The story from that day says that Bosco, with total trust, just started giving out communion. And as he did, people who were there swear the hosts started multiplying in his hands, so that every single one of those 360 boys was able to receive the sacrament. In that whole event, it wasn't some flashy magic trick. It pointed to a much deeper truth that Bosco lived by, and it's captured perfectly in this quote. He saw communion not as a reward for being perfect, but as medicine for people who aren't. It was an open invitation for everybody, something to help you become good. It's such a welcoming, powerful idea.
Okay, so let's zoom out from these incredible stories for a second. What's the lasting impact of John Bosco and Dominic Savio? I mean, how does this story of intense faith and mentorship still speak to us today? When you look at their lives together, a few big things really jump out. First, it shows just how powerful a great mentor can be.
Second, it proves that deep conviction isn't just for grown-ups. It can burn just as brightly in a kid. It also shows how one central belief can bring people together for a shared mission. But maybe the biggest thing is this. Their lives scream that faith is something you do every day, not just something you talk about.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We live in a world that is just full of distractions, right? Notifications, choices, a million things pulling at our attention. Looking at Bosco and Savio, it really makes you wonder, what would it look like in our own lives to have that kind of singular focus? Something that guides not just the big decisions, but every little action. What would that change?